Hey there, in this video I want to go over how do you figure out, solve a system of equations using the graph. So there's a couple ways you can approach this. If your equation is already in y equals form, again, if it's in y equals form, you don't have to type in y equals into the line. F of x means y equals. So you would just plug in whatever comes after the equal sign and plug it in. Okay, it's ready to go. And the good part about it being in y equals is you can hit Control T and that'll pull up the table. And so if it's a solution you're looking for, you can look for the solution in the table where they'll be the same thing. So it's at 2, -2. I can see that here. But, sometimes the answer is a decimal and you won't see that in the table. Also, using the table kind of helps because if you're graphing this, you can kind of plot table values if you're, unsure about your graphing skills. But as a math teacher, I'd just like to say start at the y-intercept and then your pattern, your rise over your run is your slope. On this one, I started at Control T to make it go away. On this one, I started at -6 and I went up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. On this one, I started at +2, C plus 2, and then went down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. Okay, that aside, how do I figure out the intersection of the graph without using the table? So you're going to go to Menu, and you're going to go to Analyze Graph, and you hit Intersection. And see it says Lower Bound, so you just click anywhere in the graph, and then click anywhere again. Make sure you highlight the intersection, and then that's it. It told me the answer. See, when I hit Control T, I go back to 2, -2, and you can see it there in the table. Again, Control T makes it go away. So that's pretty much how you do it when it's in y equals. Now, the good part about this calculator is, let's say you have two equations where they're not in y equals. So what you want to do is you're going to want to delete that equals sign. So let me show you what that looks like over here. So you delete the equal sign, go to the relation. Okay, the relation, you can type in any equation exactly as it appears. All right, so here I typed in x minus 3y equals -4 and -2x minus 4y equals 2. All right, the bad part about that is when you hit Control T, it says there's no functions available to display. It needs it in that y equals form to give you the table. So you won't be able to use the table for to plot graph values if you're using it for that, or to look for the intersection. But you can still identify the intersection. You got to go to Windows, Menu, you got to Analyze, and you got to analyze the intersection. Same thing as before, I'll highlight it. And so you can see here my intersection was at -2.2, comma 0.6. So it does tell you the intersection if you do that. Just use that relation. Lastly, if you have a bunch of equations, because if you can have a bunch of lines, they can all intersect at one point. Let's say you have this. This has 3 variables in it. You can only plug something in with 2 variables in it into the graph because you have an x-axis and a y-axis. Something like this, you need a z-axis. That's a 3-dimensional graph. One axis going forward and backwards, okay? So that's not really something this calculator is equipped for. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So I thought I had it typed in. No, I guess I didn't. But when you type it in, you would type in the relation and it would just be confused. It would say like create a slider for this. It's not going to work. So if you're looking to solve something like this, you don't want to use the graph. I do another video of this in detail, but you'd have to use like the linear solver. That'd be Menu 3, 2, and then you tell it 3 equations, and then you see it has x, y, z. Or you can convert it to a matrix. Again, check out the video for my matrix. And look, see it says 0, 5, 4, 0, 5, 4. So if you have something with 3 variables, don't use the graph. I'll only use the graph if you have something with 2 variables. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this video. Okay, goodbye.